Hollywood has always tested the limits of storytelling, but some actresses took risks that changed everything. Today, we're counting down 9 stars whose bold on-screen choices sparked global headlines, intense debate, and career-defining moments. From award-winning icons to rising talents, these performances didn't just entertain, they challenged norms and reshaped the industry. Some called it artistic courage, others questioned the boundaries, and a few moments led to serious behind-the-scenes controversy. What really happened beyond the camera often tells a far more powerful story. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear goes far deeper than the scenes themselves. Number 1, Marilyn Monroe, a name that still defines Hollywood glamour, but behind that image was a woman determined to break free from the system that built her. In 1962, while filming Something's Got to Give, Monroe made a decision that stunned the industry. She agreed to perform a daring swimming scene that pushed far beyond what audiences were used to seeing from major stars at the time. The moment instantly created tension behind the scenes. Studio executives grew nervous, unsure how the public would react, while word of the scene quickly spread across Hollywood. Reporters began circling the production, and photographers reportedly tried to capture glimpses of what was happening on set. What could have remained a private creative decision suddenly turned into a media frenzy, but Monroe didn't back down. She openly expressed her frustration with being treated like a controlled product, saying she wanted ownership over her image and career choices. For her, this wasn't just about one scene, it was about changing how actresses were perceived in an industry that often limited them. Although the film was never completed, the impact of that decision echoed for decades. The footage resurfaced years later, reminding the world that Monroe was more than just an icon of beauty. She was someone willing to challenge expectations, even at the risk of backlash. That bold move helped open conversations that would eventually reshape creative freedom in Hollywood. Proving her influence went far beyond the screen. Number 2, Sharon Stone, a moment that instantly became one of the most talked about scenes in film history. In the 1992 thriller Basic Instinct, Stone delivered a performance that would change her career overnight. But what happened behind the scenes made the story even more shocking. During the now iconic interrogation sequence, Stone believed the scene would be filmed in a controlled and subtle way. However, when the film premiered, the final cut revealed far more than she expected. Watching it for the first time in a room full of people, she reportedly realized just how exposed the moment had become. The reaction was immediate. Media outlets exploded with headlines, audiences couldn't stop talking about it. And the scene quickly turned into one of the most replayed moments in cinema. While it brought her global fame and established her as a bold, fearless star, it also sparked serious debate about trust, consent, and creative control in filmmaking. Stone later spoke about feeling blindsided, raising important questions about how far directors can go in pursuit of a powerful scene. Despite the controversy, there's no denying the impact. It transformed her into an international icon and cemented her place in Hollywood history. What started as a single scene became a defining moment that continues to be discussed decades later. Number 3, Halle Berry, a performance that sparked worldwide conversation and redefined her career. In the 2001 film Monsters Ball, Berry took on one of the most emotionally demanding roles of her life, delivering a raw and deeply vulnerable performance that audiences weren't expecting. One particular scene became the center of attention, not just for its intensity but for the emotional weight behind it. Rather than aiming for shock value, Berry later explained that the moment was essential to portraying a woman dealing with grief, loneliness, and emotional collapse. Still, the reaction was divided. Some critics praised her courage and commitment, calling it one of the most fearless performances in modern cinema. Others questioned whether the scene pushed boundaries too far for a mainstream film. The debate quickly spread across media, turning her role into a cultural talking point. Despite the controversy, the impact was undeniable. Berry went on to make history by winning the Academy Award for Best Actress, becoming the first black woman to achieve that honor. Even today, her performance remains a powerful example of how far an actor can go to fully embody a role, proving that sometimes, the most debated moments are also the most unforgettable. Number 4, Jennifer Lawrence, a star known for her relatable personality and blockbuster success, but this role revealed a completely different side of her. In the 2018 film Red Sparrow, Lawrence stepped into a dark and complex world that pushed her far beyond the image audiences had come to associate with her. The film followed a character trained in psychological manipulation and survival, requiring performances that were emotionally intense and deeply uncomfortable at times. Several scenes quickly became the focus of public discussion, not just because of their bold nature, but because of the vulnerability they demanded. For many viewers, it was shocking to see Lawrence take on such a challenging and layered role after years of more mainstream, widely accessible films. What made the situation even more significant was the context surrounding her career. Prior to this film, Lawrence had experienced a major invasion of privacy that had already placed her at the center of global media attention. Because of that, her decision to move forward with such a demanding role sparked widespread debate. Some saw it as a powerful statement of reclaiming control over her own image, while others questioned whether the film went too far. Lawrence later explained that her choice was intentional. She wanted to confront fear directly and take ownership of how she was seen on screen, rather than allowing past events to define her. Still, the reaction remained divided. Critics and audiences continued to debate whether the film's most intense moments were necessary or excessive, keeping the conversation alive long after its release. Despite all the controversy, one thing became clear: this role marked a turning point. It showed that Lawrence was willing to step into darker, more complex territory, proving her range as an actress and her determination to evolve beyond expectations. Number 5, Natalie Portman, an actress whose transformation in Black Swan stunned both audiences and critics alike. Released in 2010, the film pushed Portman far away from her earlier innocent screen image and placed her inside a psychologically intense world of obsession, perfection, and breakdown. Her performance required extreme emotional commitment, showing a character slowly losing control as pressure builds around her career and identity. Certain scenes in the film became heavily discussed, not only for their boldness but for how deeply they reflected mental and emotional strain. What stood out most was how fully Portman immersed herself into the role, physically and emotionally transforming to match the character's descent. The reaction was immediate and intense. Many praised her for delivering one of the most powerful performances of her career, calling it raw, fearless, and unforgettable. Others debated whether the film pushed psychological and visual boundaries too far for mainstream cinema. Despite the mixed opinions, the performance quickly became a defining moment in her career. Portman later explained that the role was not about shock or controversy, but about showing the internal collapse of a person driven by perfectionism. She described it as one of the most challenging experiences of her career, both mentally and physically, due to the emotional depth required for the character, regardless of the debate. The impact was undeniable. The role earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress and cemented Black Swan as one of the most talked-about psychological films of its time. More importantly, it proved that Portman was willing to take extreme artistic risks to portray truth on screen, even when it meant stepping far outside her comfort zone. Number 6, Kate Winslet, an actress whose career changed forever after Titanic became a global phenomenon in 1997. While the film is remembered for its epic romance and tragedy, one of its most discussed moments was the intimate sketch scene between Rose and Jack, which placed Winslet at the center of worldwide attention. At the time, Winslet was still early in her career, and the sudden intensity of global fame came as a shock. The scene quickly became one of the most iconic and replayed moments in modern cinema, praised for its artistic tone but also heavily debated in media discussions due to its bold nature in a mainstream blockbuster. Winslet later admitted she felt nervous filming the moment. especially knowing how large the audience reach would be. Despite that, she defended the scene as an essential part of the story, explaining that it reflected trust, vulnerability, and emotional connection between the characters rather than shock value. The public reaction was mixed. Some praised the film for its artistic confidence and emotional honesty, while others questioned whether such a moment was appropriate for a wide theatrical release. Regardless of the debate, the scene became a defining part of pop culture history. Over time, Winslet's performance in Titanic helped establish her as one of Hollywood's most respected actresses. Instead of limiting her, the controversy expanded her career, proving she was capable of handling emotionally complex and fearless roles. Today, that moment remains one of the most recognizable scenes in film history, symbolizing both vulnerability and cinematic artistry. Number 7. Charlize Theron, an actress who completely transformed herself for one of the most demanding roles of her career in Monster, 2003. Known at the time for her beauty and mainstream Hollywood presence, Theron shocked audiences by fully disappearing into the character of Aileen Wuornos, a real-life figure with a deeply troubled and violent past. Her transformation went far beyond acting. She altered her physical appearance, changed her body language, and adopted a completely different emotional presence to reflect the character's psychological state. The result was a performance that felt unsettlingly real, stripping away glamour and presenting something raw, uncomfortable, and deeply human. Certain scenes in the film sparked strong reactions because they showed a side of Hollywood rarely seen, an A-list actress willing to completely abandon her image for authenticity. While some viewers found the portrayal difficult to watch, others praised it as one of the most courageous performances in modern cinema. Critics debated whether the film's raw approach was too extreme, but the overwhelming consensus was that Theron had delivered something extraordinary. Her commitment to the role earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress, solidifying her place among the most respected performers in the industry. Theron later explained that her goal was never to create something glamorous or comfortable, but to present the truth of a damaged and complex human being. That decision not only changed how audiences viewed her, but also proved that she was willing to take risks that many actors would avoid entirely. Today, Monster is remembered as a landmark performance-driven film, and Theron's role remains one of the clearest examples of total transformation in acting history. Number 8. Scarlett Johansson, an actress who took a bold creative turn in the 2013 sci-fi film Under the Skin. Known for her work in mainstream Hollywood blockbusters, Johansson surprised audiences by stepping into an experimental and highly artistic project that broke away from traditional storytelling. In the film, she plays a mysterious, alien-like figure observing human behavior in an unsettling and minimalist world. Several scenes involved complete vulnerability and were shot in a deliberately cold, stripped-down style, designed to remove glamour and focus on atmosphere, isolation, and identity. The reaction was immediate and divided. Some praised Johansson for taking a fearless artistic risk, calling it one of the most haunting and unconventional performances of her career. Others were confused by the film's abstract nature and questioned whether such extreme creative choices were necessary for mainstream audiences. Johansson later explained that the role was never meant to be conventional or appealing in a traditional sense. Instead, it was about exploring detachment, observation, and the idea of being human from an outsider's perspective. That creative direction required her to completely abandon familiar Hollywood expectations. Despite the controversy and mixed reactions, Under the Skin eventually gained a strong cult following. Over time, critics re-evaluated the film, praising its originality and visual storytelling. Johansson's performance became recognized as one of her most daring career choices, showing a willingness to step far outside commercial cinema into pure artistic expression. Today, this role is often cited as a defining example of how mainstream actors can successfully transition into experimental filmmaking while still leaving a lasting impact on audiences and critics alike. Number 9. Angelina Jolie, an actress whose early career role in Gia, 1998, shocked audiences and established her as one of Hollywood's most fearless performers. The film is based on the real-life story of supermodel Gia Karangi, a rising star whose life was marked by fame, addiction, and emotional struggle. Jolie's performance was intense, raw, and emotionally charged, showing the dramatic rise and fall of a young woman trapped in the pressures of the fashion industry. The role required her to portray vulnerability and emotional breakdown in a way that felt deeply realistic, which immediately drew attention from critics and audiences alike. At the time, the film sparked controversy due to its bold and unfiltered storytelling approach. Some viewers felt it was too explicit in its depiction of addiction and personal struggle, while others praised it for its honesty and refusal to glamorize the darker side of fame. Despite the debate, Jolie's commitment to the role was widely recognized. She later explained that her focus was not on shock value, but on portraying the real emotional pain behind Gia's life. This dedication helped her fully disappear into the character, earning critical acclaim and establishing her reputation as a serious dramatic actress. The performance became a turning point in her career, proving she could take on deeply complex and emotionally demanding roles. It also set the foundation for her future success in Hollywood, where she would go on to balance mainstream fame with powerful dramatic performances. Today, Gia is remembered as one of Jolie's most important early works, and her portrayal remains a standout example of fearless acting that prioritizes truth and emotional depth over comfort or convention.